Regular meeting number 9 will now come to order. Please stand for the playing of the national anthem. Councilmember Stinziano, please lead us in the pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome Reverend John Edgar of the United Methodist Church for All People to lead us in prayer. Reverend Edgar, thank you for coming back to council.
Let us pray. Almighty God, the source of human goodness, we humbly ask that each of us who has assembled for this city council meeting might feel your presence and be guided by your righteousness. This evening, O Lord, as our nation celebrates the birth of our first president, George Washington, we ask that you continue to guide all elected officials across our land along paths of faithful service. Inspire them to carry forward the noble goals of liberty and justice, seasoned with compassion for all your people. And tonight, O God, we pray that you pour forth your whispered words of wisdom into the waiting ears and open minds of our council members and their president. Continue to weave them together as an effective force for positive change. Guide them in their deliberations. Inspire them to make decisions that promote the unfolding of your kingdom here in the city of Columbus, even as it is in heaven. May your wisdom, O Lord, also flow outward, washing over all who are gathered in these hallowed chambers. Be especially close to those who will make presentations or speak upon various matters. Dear God, temper their words with civility and shape their requests to be in harmony with your will. And may all that is said and done tonight extend your love, your protection, and your comfort to those who are most at risk in our community. Dear God, inspire each and every one of us, council members and individual citizens, to do what we can to care for those who are vulnerable and troubled. Be with those who will sleep outside tonight and those who continue to go to bed hungry. Send your angels to watch over our infants and their families so that every baby may thrive to celebrate a first birthday, and all our children shall grow into the fullness of abundant life. All this we pray, trusting that your Spirit is already at work within each of our hearts and souls. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Reverend Edgar.
Appreciate it.
Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the city bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read in the record?
Not at this time.
Are there any resolutions by members of council? Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Brown. Councilmember Harden. Councilmember Page. Councilmember Stinziano.
I have two resolutions tonight, President Klein, and thank you for the opportunity and the members of council. First, I'd like to present Resolution 35-2016, to recognize and celebrate the achievements of Wayne Webb and Wayne Webb's Columbus Bowl in the city of Columbus. Mr. Webb has demonstrated throughout his professional bowling career excellence on the lanes as both a member of the Professional Bowlers Association and the United States Bowling Congress Hall of Fame. He holds many records and accolades and is known as one of the top 20 professional bowlers in history. Even more special, and why I asked if the Webbs wanted to take some time to come down. If you turned to ESPN yesterday, we were hosting in the city of Columbus on the south side the Professional Bowlers Association Players Championship. And the Webbs really did a wonderful job of highlighting our city, highlighting our south side, bringing a field of 120 of the world's premier bowlers to the city of Columbus. And for that, we'd like to recognize the Webbs. With today is Wayne and his wife, Lainey, for being here. Any of the other members of council have any comments they'd like to make? If not, I'd like to move for passage. They are here. And then I'd have you guys, if you'd like to come up, make some brief comments.
Second.
There's been a motion and second for the resolution. Come on up. Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Resolution adopted.
Podium is all yours.
I'll start. I'd like to thank Councilman Stinziano for this honor, for this resolution. We moved here in 2010 and bought the Bowling Center, Wayne Webb's Columbus Bowl. Since that time, we've been trying to bring the best bowlers from around the world and fans to Columbus. We hosted in 2011 the U.S. Senior Masters. In 2013, we had the U.S. Open with the professionals, and 2016, now the Barbasol Players Championship, bringing lots of fans and pro bowlers from around the world. Our champion this year for the Barbasol was a Canadian, actually, and we had 4 countries involved on the TV show of 5. And I would just like to thank Columbus. We're trying to work hard and bring a lot of people to this great city. Thank you.
I just want to say congratulations to you. Thank you, Councilmember Stinziano, for bringing the Webbs down tonight. I think it's pretty exciting that and you had a vision and you were able to make that vision a reality. We just really appreciate you bringing those bowlers to our community. Economic development is important for our community, so thank you for your vision and your leadership. Congratulations on success. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
One more resolution, President Klein. The next resolution is 36-2016 to recognize and celebrate the contributions of Parent Anonymous of Ohio and their service to the city of Columbus. February is Parent Leadership Month, and I can think of no greater example of an organization that promotes strong parenting through their 4 guiding principles: meaningful parent leadership, effective mutual support, successful shared leadership, and long-term personal growth and change. I think for the parents and other members of council here tonight that we'd like to thank the program director, Tanya Long, who's here to receive the resolution, and Parents Anonymous of Ohio for promoting Parent Leadership Month and championing such a worthy cause. Do any of my other members of council have any comments, questions? If Ms. Long would like to come up, I'd like to move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Tanya, the mic is all yours.
I would like to thank everyone here for allowing us to be recognized this month. As it's been stated that February is National Parents Leadership Month, and Parents Anonymous of Ohio has been doing a lot with parent leadership, as well as working with staff and shared leadership to promote and honor to celebrate the accomplishments of parent leaders. in their roles as meaningful partners in agencies all around Columbus. We did celebrate a big event last Friday. We had a gallery event where we had pictures of parents in leadership roles. We also awarded our Jolly K Award to a parent who displayed exemplary parent leadership throughout the year. Jolly K was our founding mother of Parents Anonymous, Inc. of California. We have groups all around the country, and Parents Anonymous turned 48 years old this year. We are the oldest child abuse prevention family strengthening organization in the country. Our CEO and president, Dr. Lisa Payan Berlin, joined us this Friday, and she received her 25-year anniversary award there as well. Parents Anonymous has done countless events all over the country, workshops, conferences presented, keynote speakers, all comprised of parents, because Parents Anonymous says we never do anything without a parent. I have learned so much from them, and I can tell you it's true because I started there as a parent attending group. Parents Anonymous built confidence in me. They made me believe in myself through their support, their parent leadership and their shared leadership, where I felt confident enough to go back to school, achieving my GED in my community at Godman Guild, my associates, my bachelor's, and finally my master's. And then was promoted from a parent group leader to the National Parent Leadership Team, to their board of directors, and now finally a program director at Parents Anonymous of Ohio. So this has truly been an honor, and I stand here before you as a result of what can happen when you join with parents and help them to achieve their leadership potential. Thank you very much.
No other resolutions, President Klein.
Thank you, Council Member. President Pro Tem Tyson.
I don't have any resolutions. I have a couple of announcements. The first is I want to acknowledge our esteemed auditor, Mr. Hugh Dorian. And if you can remember that ordinances number 234-2016 and 235-2016 was adopted by this council on February the 1st of 2016. In collaboration with the Department of Finance and Management, we sold $206,965,000 of City Columbus general obligation bonds. These refunding bonds simply replaced older bonds, which were refunded bonds, that had been issued in earlier years at higher interest rates. After the payment of related costs, it is anticipated that the sale of the bonds will result in a savings to the City of Columbus of $14,359,583 from 2016 through 2031, a present value savings at $11,901,870. So just want to congratulate Mr. Dorian for consistently identifying opportunities for this city to save our taxpayers' dollars, to make sure that we are running an efficient business, but he's always, trying to identify the right time to be able to look at selling, refunding these bonds, and just appreciate you and the ability to save us, $14 million. So thank you, Mr. Dorian. I'll give you a
Madam Chairperson, if I may, I want to acknowledge also that you can't, no one person or no one department can accomplish these things. I want to acknowledge the Department of Finance and Management, the Department of Public Utilities, because so much of this is sewer and water related, and the Department of Development. So I thank them all, and I thank you for the recognition. It's worth a day's work.
Thank you, Mr. Dorian. I also want to mention some of the steps that we're taking in the City of Columbus to address the opiate addiction. And it's a serious issue in our community. And so we have the Harm Reduction Clinic. It's at Safe Point. And Columbus Public Health is helping to establish a harm reduction program with the AIDS Resource Center. And for now, the Safe Point office offers services every Saturday from 8:30 until 12:30. Services include prevention education, counseling for their family and/or friends, HIV and hepatitis C testing, access to Narcan to prevent drug overdose, and access to clean syringes to prevent the spread of infections, including HIV. If you or you know of someone that needs these services, please call 614-340-6777. Also, the Franklin County Coroner and other agencies are looking at local deaths from drug overdoses. There will be a community summit that's being held on March the 23rd for providers and agencies who work with drug-using population. Columbus Division of Fire to learn about the extent of opiate use across the city based on EMS runs, and also the creation of a community plan to address opiate use in Columbus and Franklin County. And lastly, it's tax season, and if you are an individual that in your family household income is $65,000 or less, please call 211. You will be able to get free tax services and hopefully be able to get a significant amount of your refund back to you. So please call 211 to register for tax time. And that's all I have, President Klein.
Are there any comments from our elected officials? We already heard from Auditor Dory. Anything else, Auditor? City Attorney Pfeiffer, Treasurer? Judge Barrows.
Nothing. Thank you very much, Council President Klein.
Thank you, Judge, for coming to see us. At this time, I'd like to request that the following ordinance be removed from the consent action portion of the agenda, Clerk, and that's 217-2016 in Public Service and Transportation. Are there any other requests by members for removal of ordinances or resolutions from the consent action besides that ordinance? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of the titles of 30-day legislation by the City Clerk? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. Will the clerk now read into the record the ordinance numbers of 30-day legislation on tonight's agenda for first reading?
Finance Committee, Ordinance 288-2016. Environment Committee, Ordinance 118-2016. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Ordinances 422 and 423-2016. Technology Committee, Ordinance 183, 199, and 200-2016. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 38, 131, 174, 204, 208, 213, 214, 218, 223, 225, 226, 296-2016, and Zoning Committee Ordinances 376 and 377-2016.
Thank you, Clerk Blevins. The following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Clerk, will you now read the ordinance numbers into the record?
Resolutions of expression 34X and 33X-2016. Finance Committee, Ordinances 275, 301, and 307-2016. Health and Human Services Committee, Ordinances 278, 282, 295, 353, 364-2016. Economic Development Committee, Ordinances 289, 290, and 448-2016. Administration Committee, Ordinances 250, 254, 255, 256, 299, and 302-2016. Public Safety Committee, Ordinances 139, 177, 228, 291, 306-2016. Public Service and Transportation Committee, Resolution 20X-2016. Ordinances 237, 303, 310, and 396-2016. Recreation and Parks Committee, Ordinances 109, 111-2016. Housing Committee, Ordinances 265, 266, 267, 269, 279, 280, 281, 283, 284, 326, 327, 379-2016. Technology Committee, Ordinances 185, 293-2016. Public Utilities Committee, Ordinances 145, 195, 219, 221, 333, 355-2016. Judiciary and Court Administration Committee, ordinances 342, 343, 344, 347, and 348-2016. Appointments from the Mayor's Office, numbered A0001, 2, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, and 38-2016.
Thank you, Clerk. We do have one speaker slip for the consent action portion of the agenda. It's Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins. Mr. Wilkins, welcome back to council. You have 3 minutes, sir.
1612 Arlington Avenue, Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins, the chairman of Solely Vacant and Abandonment Property in North Londonderry. I just would like to know what's going to be happening with 1044 East 26th Street. And I just want to know how long that this property had been in the land bank and what will this property will be used for. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Wilkins. If it's okay with you, Chair Page, it's a housing issue. If Mr. McGinnis could get Mr. Wilkins that information, is that possible?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you, Mr. McGinnis. Any other comments or questions about the consent action portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I have a motion for approval of these items designated as consent action? Clerk, call the roll by voice.
Ms. Brown?
Yes, with the exception of 278-2016, on which I am abstaining.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Hardin? Yes. Page? Yes. Stinziano?
Yes.
Tyson? President Klein?
Yes, the consent actions pass. We'll now proceed to the second reading of 30-day tabled and emergency legislation. The first committee tonight is the Health and Human Services Committee, chaired by President Pro Tem Tyson. President Pro Tem Tyson, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. The first ordinance is 0231-2016. It is to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish a purchase order with Cuogen, Inc. for the purchase of quantiferin blood assay screening test kits for Columbus Public Health's Ben Franklin Tuberculosis Control Program, to authorize the expenditure of $25,000 from the TB Prevention/Control Special Purpose Fund, and to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Columbus City Code and to declare an emergency. The Health Department uses the quantiferin blood assay QFT screening test to screen patients for tuberculosis. Cuogen has provided Columbus Public Health with the software and instrumentation necessary to use this test. The vendor has patented the test kits, thus being the only vendor allowed to distribute them, and that's why we're asking for a waive of competitive bidding. In 2005, Columbus Public Health tested 276 individuals and 53 were positive. And in 2014, we tested 360 and 87 were positive. So with that, I'd like to move for passage.
Brown, Hardin, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. The next ordinance is 0238-2016. It's to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept a grant from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services in the amount of $4,010,911 to authorize the appropriation of $4,010,911 from the unappropriated balance of the Health Department's Grants Fund and to declare an emergency. This ordinance is needed to accept and appropriate the $4 million in the grant money to fund the HIV Care Part A grant program for the period March 1, 2016 through February 28th of 2017. Part 1's purpose is to improve access to medical care for persons living with HIV or AIDS in Central Ohio. And in 2015, 2,400 unique clients have been served through the Ryan White program. 1,300 have received primary or infectious disease medical care. 1,800 have received medical case management services. 350 have received mental health or substance treatment services. And 600 HIV-positive individuals have received short-term rental assistance, utility assistance, or housing case management services that have prevented them from being homeless, which could have disrupted their HIV care. These dollars are just crucial in our community, and I would ask my colleagues to pass this ordinance. Move for passage. Oh, you want to say something? Councilmember Harden.
I just want to thank you, Chair Tyson, for your leadership. For many years, you have championed this program, the Ryan White Funds, make sure that they get out to not just the health department, but to health providers throughout the community. And it's much appreciated. It is saving lives, and I look forward to supporting.
Thank you, Councilmember Harden, and I know that certainly you have been a very active member in communicating the services in our community. Just appreciate your work in regards to making sure that individuals who are in need of these services are able to get them. So thank you. I move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. The next ordinance is ordinance number 0300-2016. It's to authorize and direct the Board of Health to accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Transportation for the Ohio Buckles Buckeye program in the amount of $93,000, to authorize the appropriation of $93,000 to the Health Department and the Health Department's grants fund, and to declare an emergency. The Ohio Buckles program provides low-income families access to child safety seats and training in the 9 counties in Region 5. Columbus Public Health is a Ohio Buckeye Buckles site, and annually 75 to 100 WIC-eligible families attend a car seat class to receive a free car seat. Our Columbus Public Health car seat programs provides 500 WIC-eligible families with reduced car seat cost, and 400 families, again, receive a free car seat check annually. Again, we're wanting to make sure that all of our children are safe, and by providing these car seats certainly helps us to ensure that all of our kids will be able to hopefully live to be able to have a healthy life. So this is prevention for our children. I move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. And in that same vein, in another area, the ordinance number 0378-2016 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to establish a purchase order with Cribs for Kids for the purchase of portable cribs for the Columbus Public Health Department, to waive relevant provisions of the Columbus City Codes relating to competitive bidding, and to authorize expenditure of $34,955.63 from the Health Special Revenue Fund and $1,839.77 from the Health Department's Grants Fund to pay the cost thereof, and to declare an emergency. On an average, a baby dies every week due to unsafe sleep practices in Franklin County. Columbus Public Health, as recommended by the Greater Columbus Infant Mortality Task Force, has a need to purchase portable cribs to ensure a safe sleep environment for children of Franklin County. Cribs for Kids, a nonprofit agency, is the sole provider of the Greco Pack and Play portable cribs. Greco Pack and Play is by far the safest and most reliable because their units contain all the patented safety mechanisms that continue to make them the leader in the industry. Columbus Public Health Department has an existing licensed trade agreement with Cribs for Kids, and there is an immediate need to purchase portable cribs due to the diminishing stock on hand, and that's why we're asking for a waiver of competitive bidding. Last year, this grant will provide for 460 cribs to caregivers who need a safe sleep place for their babies who are less than 12 months of age. And again, we want to ensure that, thinking about infant mortality, we want to do everything possible to ensure that our children in this community are able to live past their first birthday and be able to reach their full potential where they were created to do. So the last two ordinances are really critical into helping children to move forward. And with that, I'm going to ask my council members for passage. Councilman Stinziano, I'm so sorry.
Thank you, President Pro Tem. Just wanted to thank you for your leadership and our health department. The safe sleep environment situation is one that those ABCs, alone on their back in a crib, are vital and things as new parents. Often you're learning as you go. And so really appreciate your commitment in working with Department of Health and the city's commitment to continue to address what we can do to raise awareness and make sure families have more cribs. So we've got at least the C and working on those A, Bs, and Cs. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I move for passage.
Brown, Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. I forgot to make the announcement for tomorrow. Tomorrow, February 23rd at 5 p.m., I'll be hosting my bi-weekly committee hearing all the legislation in my committees. And so if you have legislation in health, workforce development, finance, and health, human services, I have a hearing every other Tuesday at 5 o'clock. And if you are interested in coming and hearing the upcoming legislation for council, please join us tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Thank you. That's all I have.
Tyson, our next committee is the Environment Committee. Councilmember Brown chairs that committee. The floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. Tonight in Environment Committee, we have ordinance number 314-2016 to authorize the Director of Public Service to establish a purchase order with the Solid Waste Authority of Central Ohio, SWACO, for landfill use by the Division of Infrastructure Management and the Division of Traffic Management, to authorize the expenditure of $380,000 or so much thereof as may be needed from the Street Construction, Maintenance, and Repair Fund, to waive the formal competitive bidding requirements of the Columbus City Code, and to declare an emergency. Director Gallagher, I was wondering if you could speak to the waiver of competitive bidding requirements.
Thank you. Yes, President Klein, Chair Brown, and other members of council. In 1993, SWACO took over the operations of the solid waste reduction facility, and since then we have had a long-term agreement with them that obligates the city of Columbus to take and dispose of all of our solid waste material there at SWACO. So therefore, that's why we are requesting the waiver to the competitive bidding. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Gallagher. Are there any questions from my colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage and request a voice vote, please.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Harden? Yes. Page? Stinziano? Yes. Tyson?
Yes.
President Klein.
I was daydreaming. So excited to be here. I do not have any more legislation. Thank you, President Klein.
Thank you, Chair. Our next committee is the Public Safety Committee. The other Councilmember Brown chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. I'm always daydreaming. If I may, authorize the appropriation for ordinance number 251, the appropriation of $119,659.81 from the unappropriated balance of the Indigent Drivers Alcohol Treatment Fund for the Division of Police to pay for advanced training for the Action Investigation Unit and the DWI Conference for Traffic Bureau personnel, as well as to purchase supplies and equipment and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Clerk, call the roll on 251-2016.
Brown, Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Passed.
The second ordinance is 0259-2016 to authorize the Director of the Department of Public Safety to enter into a contract with the Community Crime Patrol, Inc. to provide citizen patrollers to assist the Division of Police in the control and prevention of crime in the Ohio State University District, Wyland Park, Hilltop, Franklinton, Marion Village area, Old Town East, Franklin Park, and the Northland area to authorize the expenditure of $375,000 from the general fund and to declare emergency. Are there any comments from my colleagues? Councilmember Stinziano.
Thank you, Chairman Brown. Just wanted to briefly thank the members of Community Crime Patrol. I have had the good fortune of doing a walk-along once with some members in the Franklinton area, and their service as the eyes and ears of these communities and the work they do is almost second to none. And it's something that I know has been appreciated by many, many neighborhoods and appreciate the ongoing commitment and discussion we've had about where else we can maybe expand and look for new opportunities. And so the continued support of the City of Community Crime Patrol is one. Just wanted to thank your committee and Community Crime Patrol specifically for their ongoing service. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Page.
Thank you, Chair Brown. I would just like to add too, with CCP, they send out monthly reports, and if you're not part of their listserv, I would encourage you to do so, because you're able to see a lot of the work that they're doing in the specific communities where we do give them funding, and just, really to thank them for the work that they are doing.
Thank you. I would say Councilmember Harden and I have been working hard with the Community Crime Patrol to look at ways in which we can potentially expand their role and responsibility. But thank you for your comments. If there's nothing else, I'll move for passage.
Second. Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Also, we have ordinance number 259. Oh, that's done. I'm sorry. Finally, ordinance number 2712-016 to authorize the Director of Public Safety Director to enter into a contract with Leads Online LLC for access to the company's automated scrap materials and used goods transaction information management system, to authorize the expenditure of $64,400 from the general fund and to declare emergency. At this time, I would move to table ordinance 2071 for 1 week until February 29th.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you, Councilmember Brown. I think there is one piece on consent in public service and transportation, so Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. If we could turn back to page 11 in our agenda. I'm going to be reading ordinance 0217-2016. This is to amend the 2015 capital improvement budget to authorize the city auditor to transfer cash and appropriation between projects within the Streets and Highways Bond Fund, and to authorize the city attorney's office, real estate division, to contract for professional services relative to the acquisition of fee, simple, title, and lesser interest in and to property needed for the URF Smith Road sidewalks and resurfacing project, to authorize the city attorney's office real estate division to negotiate with property owners to acquire the additional rights and ways to complete this project, to authorize expenditure of $330,000 from the Streets and Highways Bonds Fund, and to declare an emergency. Wanted to bring this ordinance forward. This is $330,000 that will go to constructing new sidewalks, new curb ramps, driveway aprons through a program, the URF program, where folks on the south side have identified these specific projects to be funded. So following their lead and their direction for funding these very important infrastructure projects, I encourage my colleagues to support and move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
That's all we have in public service and transportation. Thank you, President Klein.
Thank you, Mr. Harden. Our next committee is Recreation and Parks, chaired by Jiza Page. Councilmember Page, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. Tonight we have ordinance 110-2016, and I'm really excited to introduce this piece of legislation. The Department of Recreation and Parks will be partnering with Kaboom, the Marion Franklin community, as well as Play World Mid-States in order to create a community playground. And this is going to be a great day if we pass this ordinance, where the community will come out and share in the creation of the playground, and just really a landmark in the community. So I would encourage my colleagues to pass this resolution, to pass this ordinance. The cost for this project will be $49,703 with a contingency of $1,500 for a total of $51,203. Also, with this ordinance would authorize the city auditor to transfer $1,203 within the Recreation and Parks voted bond fund to amend the 2015 capital improvement budget and to declare an emergency. If there are no questions or comments, I move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Passed.
Thank you, President Klein. I have nothing further.
Thank you, Chair Page. The next committee is the Technology Committee. Councilmember Stinziano chairs that committee. Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. Tonight in technology, we have ordinance 201-2016. To authorize the Director of the Department of Technology to enter into year 3 of a 5-year agreement with Lucity, Inc. for annual support and maintenance fees on a work order management system currently utilized by the Departments of Public Service, Finance and Management, and Recreation and Parks, to authorize the expenditure of $43,000 from the Department of Technology Information Services Operating Fund and to declare an emergency. I wanted to bring this ordinance to highlight the great work being done by Department of Technology. As mentioned, this legislation will help the City of Columbus become more efficient and maintain the management systems used by Department of Public Service, Finance and Management, Rex and Park, and the Department of Technology, and also to make a small plug for the My Columbus app. If you have not had a chance to download it on your smartphone, I encourage you to do so. It provides many, many services, least of which reminds me when I need to take my recycling out or the garbage is coming. Since first entering into this contract, the city has seen an increase in workforce efficiencies and cost savings. If there are no questions from my colleagues, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Next, if we could move to public utilities. Bring forward ordinance 315-2016 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to enter into 2 contracts for the option to purchase mainline water service and repair parts with HD Supply Waterworks and Ferguson Waterworks, to waive the competitive bidding requirements of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Code, to authorize the expenditure of $2 to establish the contracts from the general fund and declare an emergency. In regards to the waiver of competitive bidding, wanted to share that this contract will allow the Division of Water to utilize multiple manufacturer catalogs to fill their needs for repair parts for mainline service lines through the Venema e-catalog portal. The waiver in particular is being submitted to award multiple suppliers, as the city code does not envision multiple awards for the same category, and so thus the need for the waiver. If there are no questions, I move for passage.
Second.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
If we can move to Judiciary. Tonight in Judiciary and Court Administration, we have ordinance 317-2016 to authorize and direct the city attorney to settle the lawsuit of Jordan Hellman versus Officer Anthony Prey et al., pending the United States District Court of the Southern District of Ohio, Eastern Division, to authorize the expenditure of the sum of $85,000 in settlement of this lawsuit and declare an emergency. I don't know if the city attorney would like to provide any explanation.
Chair Stinziano, President Klein, and other members of council. This originated back in February of 2014. The location was up at Vine and Short North at an establishment called BBR. Now, here's principally who are involved. There's a fellow named Jordan Hellman who's there with his girlfriend Natalie and a friend named Casey. Columbus Division of Police had 2 special duty officers, Anthony Prey and Officer Gruber. What apparently began to happen was friend Casey apparently was becoming disturbing, and the security for BBR began to escort Casey out of the establishment. Well, as Casey was being escorted out of the establishment, Officer Prey thought Casey, was becoming belligerent. So Prey approached Casey, grabbed his arm, and they fell down. They struggled. Officer Prey was going to handcuff him, but for some reason did not, but basically told Casey, leave. While all this was going on, an unidentified person was with his camera filming all this. Well, this upset the girlfriend of Mr. Hellman, Natalie, and so she started hollering. Well, then Officer Prey decides to escort the unidentified man out of the area. At this point, Officer Hellman believes that, Officer Prey believes that Hellman's approaching him. He's going to hit him. So what does Officer Prey do? He turns around and he slugs Hellman in the jaw, breaks his jaw, knocks him down. Well, the Division of Police didn't know this happened until March of 2014, when the person who was assailed filed an IAB report. So we have an officer who, one, did not report an injury and did not summons medical advice and just told Hellman to leave. Hellman left, went to the hospital, incurred bills of about $70,000. So now we get a lawsuit filed against us, and it's not only against us, but it's against the establishment and against the Officer Prey. Because we have a conflict, we have to have another law firm come in and represent Prey. Well, negotiations take place, and basically it's decided to settle this for $100,000 in the following manner. Officer Prey to pay $5,000. The bar to pay $10,000, and the city to pay $85,000. The city examined the conduct of Officer Prey and determined he violated 2 policies. Failure to report an injury, failure to get medical help. The department couldn't decide whether to use excessive force because there wasn't enough information. Bottom line is we believe this is a fair resolution of an unfortunate situation. As a result of corrective action, the department did say to Officer Prey, you've got to be suspended for 120 hours, and you're going to get counseling. So that's the sum of it. It's 2 years later, and we would ask council tonight to enact this legislation, which authorizes us to give $85,000 to Mr. Hellman. Thank you.
Thank you, City Attorney Pfeiffer, for that very thorough explanation. If there are no questions from any members of council, I move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
President Klein, I have no more legislation from committees.
Thank you, Chair. Is there any other business to come before council in regular meeting number 9? We have a couple non-agenda speakers. It is 5:50, so we'll take those and then reconvene for zoning at 6:30. May I have a motion to adjourn? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
We are in adjournment, and we'll take non-agenda speakers momentarily. Regular meeting number 10 will now come to order. Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Are there any communications and reports received by the city clerk?
No, there are not.
Any first readings of 30-day legislation?
No, there are not.
We'll now go to the zoning committee. Jiza Page chairs that committee. All members serve on that committee. Councilmember Page, Chair Page, the floor is yours.
Thank you, President Klein. Before beginning the zoning agenda, I'll briefly explain the rules of council as pertaining to speaking before council on zonings and variances. We permit 3 speakers on each side, 3 proponents and 3 opponents, and we ask that they limit their remarks to 3 minutes on each side, and we provide an opportunity for rebuttal from the applicant. On the advice of the City Attorney's Office, we ask that anyone here this evening who wishes to speak either for or against any council variance, including staff, please stand and raise your right hand to be sworn in. And please repeat after me. I wish to tell the truth and nothing but the truth. Please answer, I will.
I will.
Thank you. You may be seated. Our first ordinance is 362-2016 to rezone 420 Georgesville Road 43228, being 1.42 acres located at the east side of Georgesville Road, 365 feet north of Sullivan Avenue, from R Rural District to C4 Commercial District. The applicant is Gene Cabral, architect. The proposed use is a commercial development. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Greater Hilltop Area Commission recommended approval. I would like to ask staff for a brief presentation.
I apologize, I have my ordinances out of order. Good evening. The site is developed with a vacant commercial building that had previously been used as a thrift store. It is owned in the R Rural District as a result of an annexation from Franklin Township in October 1988. The requested C4 commercial district will permit new commercial tenants in the existing building or future commercial development. The site is located within the planning area of the Greater Hilltop Plan, which recommends community-scale commercial uses for this location, and is also within the West Broad Street Greater Hilltop Regional Commercial Overlay. The requested C4 district is consistent with this recommendation and with the surrounding development, both in Columbus and neighboring properties in Franklin Township. Therefore, staff's recommendation is for approval, and I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. Are there any questions for Ms. Pine? Thank you. I believe the architect and applicant is here as well. Ms. Cabral, would you like to make any statements? Thank you. We do not have any speakers on behalf of this zoning ordinance. So I would first like to waive second reading.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
And President Klein, I now move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. We have ordinance 363-2016 to rezone 7153 Refugee Road 43137, being 8.42 acres located on the south side of Refugee Road, 1,558 feet east of Hines Road Northwest, from PUD-6 Planned Unit Development District to LM Limited Manufacturing District. The applicant is Lebec Commercial Construction, care of Robert Lebec. The proposed use is self-storage units with truck rentals. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Far East Area Commission recommended approval. Any staff comments?
No, I think everything is fairly well stated in the ordinance, but I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Pine? We do not have any other speakers on this ordinance, so I would first move to waive second reading.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
And I now move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
We now have 385-2016 to rezone 2698 Bethel Road 43220, being 29.05 acres located on the north side of Bethel Road, 550 feet east of Sawmill Road, from CPD Commercial Plan Development District to CPD Commercial Plan Development. The applicant is Carriage Place, care of Charlie Frost and Brent Myers. The proposed use is a shopping center with removed restrictions for total square feet of restaurants and theater seat maximum. The City Department's recommendation is approval. Northwest Civic Association recommended approval. Ms. Pine, do you have any comments?
Just briefly, this is just to remove restrictions on the maximum restaurant square footage to allow more tenants to come in.
Thank you, and we do not have any other speakers. Are there any questions for staff? Well, I would first like to move to waive second reading.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
And I now move for passage.
Brown, Harden, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein.
Thank you. We now have two companion pieces that I will read separately. It's 3035-2015 and 3036-2015. And the first one, 3035, is to rezone 1530 North Grant Avenue, 43201, being 0.76 acres located at the northeast corner of North Grant and East 11th Avenues, from C4 Commercial District to AR1 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Bhakti Bania Architect. The proposed use is a 16-unit apartment complex, 2 8-unit structures. The City Department's recommendation is approval. University Area Commission recommended disapproval. I now ask for a staff presentation.
The subject site is undeveloped and zoned in the C4 Commercial District. The applicant proposes the AR1 Apartment Residential District for a multi-unit residential development of 16 units. The site is located within the planning area of the University District Plan, which recommends medium-intensity residential uses for the site. This classification includes single and 2-unit dwellings and row house style and scattered site multi-unit residential developments. The request is compatible with the density and development standards of adjacent residential developments and is consistent with the land use recommendation of the University District Plan. And Councilmember Page will be discussing the companion council variance piece next, which is considered on this property for reduced building and parking setbacks for the 2 8-unit apartment buildings as depicted on this site plan. And I would be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Ms. Pine at this time? I would now like to ask the applicant, Mr. John Hawks, to come up and speak. Thank you, Mr. Hawks.
It's John Hanks. That's my handwriting. It's completely my fault. I don't think I have to add too much to this other than that we've made an effort to work with the community, and I have been involved on campus for years now. We believe that based on the university master plan and numerous meetings with the city that we are doing what we've been asked to do, and hope that you look upon this favorably. And we appreciate your consideration. I'm happy to answer any other questions that may come up. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Hanks. I would now like to ask Ms. Susan Keeney, she's a zoning chair for the University Area Commission, to come forward and speak regarding this ordinance.
Thank you, Council President and council members. I chair the zoning committee, and my remarks kind of include both the rezoning and the council variance, so it's combined together. The UAC has worked with this applicant on this project over several months. The commission did approve the requested variances, but it did not approve the rezoning request. Let me start first with the variances. The project, as originally presented in March of last year, was a single large apartment building with multiple variances. The zoning committee had concerns over the size and compatibility of the structure in this Wineland Park neighborhood. A typical streetscape of Wineland Park features front doors and front porches accessed by individual walks that connect the housing units to the public sidewalk. I should point out that there's no current sidewalk on Grant right now. The proposed building was accessed at each end off the side streets. There was no pedestrian access off Grant, which is the main facade of the building. The original set of variances being requested included Section 3372.522, which addresses neighborhood compatibility. The applicant did listen to our concerns. Their design detailed the facade along Grant with individual unit back doors facing backyard patios. These revisions were submitted to the zoning staff, and it was determined that the compatibility variance was not needed. Some commissioners did not agree with that decision and felt that the building still turned its backside to the neighborhood and did not adequately engage the street, but we cannot vote on a variance that's not there. I will add that also during this process, the applicant handled the parking on site, totally eliminating that variance request, a definite plus. In addition, the applicant stated that they would be building a sidewalk along Grant, also a plus. We would wish that the applicant could somehow make a better connection between the proposed sidewalk and the units to more closely relate to the neighborhood. Now, in terms of the rezoning, this was required by city staff. It was not requested by the applicant at first. Many commissioners did and still do question the need to rezone this project. Their question was, isn't it adequate to grant the variances? Does the parcel need to be rezoned? There is also a concern over the loss of small commercial nodes within neighborhoods and the conversion of these properties to residential uses. We understand that the rezoning to AR1 fits the proposed project and that it does follow our adopted University District Plan. However, we also have concerns over spot zoning changes. We find ourselves as a commission caught between existing code and our new district plan. And this project is just one example. It is a very difficult balance for us as volunteers and also for our applicants until such time that we can move forward with implementing the zoning changes as recommended in the University District Plan. We believe that there will continue to be confusion in how to view variance requests and rezonings. We know that this doesn't make your jobs easier as you vote on this council variance, but we did want to explain some of the forces and conditions that resulted in our differing votes on this particular case. So, thank you.
Thank you so much, Ms. Keeney. Are there any questions or comments? Ms. Keeney, President Klein.
Ms. Keeney, just for my understanding, the University Area Commission Zoning Committee, which you chair,
right,
was overall approved this project.
Correct.
Regardless of whether you look at the variances or the zoning,
right,
although you bifurcated them because of staff recommendation
right,
that a zoning change had.
applications.
But the project itself was acceptable to the zoning committee.
Yes.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Ms. Keeney. I would now allow the Mr. Hanks an additional 3 minutes to respond.
Thank you. Really, I'd like to compliment Ms. Keeney for that explanation because it is confusing, and they may be between a rock and a hard place, and she agrees that we are too. We were trying to do the right thing and follow the plan, and the university plan calls this medium residential, and they wanted it to be commercial. That's a tough position for us to be in, because if we brought in commercial, then the objection would be potentially that the plan calls for residential. So, with that said, I appreciate the explanation. We still believe that we have cooperated and communicated, and we believe it's a great project for a currently vacant and blighted corner. It's a very difficult site, but we love the area and want to be there. So, again, we appreciate your consideration. Thank you very much.
Thank you again, Mr. Hanks. Are there any questions or comments? Mr. Hanks. Sorry. President Klein.
So when you presented this project to the University Area Commission, it was simply a variance request, or did you present a zoning and a variance? How did this zoning change come about? The requested zoning change come about?
Yes, and Bhakti may be better answering this than I, but we started this a year ago, and by the time we got to council, in fact, the subcommittee, the zoning subcommittee of the UAC, it was already split. And at the zoning subcommittee meeting, please correct me if I'm wrong, it was voted on for variances and for rezoning. Both were recommended approval. And between the time we were at subcommittee to UAC, we had a recommendation for approval on the variances, but the recommendation on the rezoning was disapproval. Does that answer your question? I don't know.
It does, and it may be a question for Ms. Pine of how this came about from a submission for a variance to now a variance and what I understand to be staff's recommendation to also do a zoning change on this parcel.
This all stems from the pre-application meeting that we had with Ms. Banya before the applications were filed. She explained the project, and we looked at the zoning map, we looked at the area plan recommendation. Since it was an all-residential project, we suggested that she zone to an apartment residential district that would allow the density that they were wishing for this project. And then we informed her that the companion council variance could be utilized for standards variances because it is very difficult to develop these infill urban areas with suburban setback standards. So that is how they filed this application. And there was never, we do sometimes, and there might be some confusion with university with, there have been a lot of council variances with commercial districts with some multifamily first floor, but usually those are only mixed use projects where there's still a commercial component. Our thought process at Building and Zoning Services is that the zoning map should be reflective of the uses that are in place. If you have a mixed use project, commercial zoning makes sense. If you've got an all residential project, then it should be zoned as such. I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, Ms. Pine. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, President Klein. Thank you, Mr. Hanks. And I have a few more questions for you, Ms. Pine. Can you, and you talked about it, but can you talk briefly about the difficulty of leaving the property commercial and allowing the multifamily district or development?
Yes, of course. In some of our experiences, we have found that sometimes banks won't finance a project because the zoning is not reflective of the use. The council variance is an unusual process that Columbus facilitates, but not every city does that. So it's some of the lending institutions aren't comfortable with that. They would rather have an assurance that the zoning district allows the use that they're requesting. And then another thing to keep in mind is that as area plans are done, our planning division does look at the zoning, and if this commercial zoning stays in place, that might ultimately change what the recommendation is for the next university district plan, even if the site is developed residentially. So those are probably the two most important reasons. We don't force an applicant to file. They choose which way they would like to file. We just make a suggestion on what we think makes the most sense for their project.
And I have another question. The current university area plan recommends the use for the AR residential?
Yes, it recommends medium-intensity residential, and the density that they have in the AR1 district is compatible with that. There's AR1 directly to the north, and across Grant to the west, there's actually apartment buildings that are non-conforming in the C4 district, and then there's AR1 just on the other side of that.
Are there any other questions or comments? Seeing none, I would first like to move to waive second reading by voice vote.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Hard?
Yes.
Page? Stinziano? Tyson?
Yes.
President Klein?
And President Klein, I now move for passage and request a voice vote.
Ms. Brown?
Yes.
Mr. Brown?
Yes.
Hardin? Yes. Page? Stinziano? Tyson?
Yes.
President Klein?
Thank you, President Klein. And we now have the companion piece to 3036-2015 to grant a variance from the provisions of sections 3312.27(1) parking setback line and 3372.565 building lines of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1530 North Grant Avenue, 43201. To permit multi-unit residential development with reduced development standards in the AR1 apartment residential district. The applicant is Bhakti Banya Architect. The proposed use is a 16-unit apartment complex, 2 8-unit structures. The City Department's recommendation is approval. University Area Commission recommended approval. I would first like to move to waive second reading.
Second.
Brown? Ms. Brown?
Yes. Is
Okay.
there a voice?
Brown, Hardin, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein?
Thank you. I would now like to move to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Brown, Hardin, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein?
Thank you. President Klein, I now move for passage.
Brown, Hardin, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein?
Thank you. That is all we have in zoning this evening, President Klein.
Thank you, Chair Page. Is there any other business to come before council? Seeing none, we'll stand adjourned. Can I get a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Clerk, call the roll.
Brown, Hardin, Page, Stinziano, Tyson, President Klein?
Now we stand adjourned.